I'm going to give you, this board is just going to have notes and some words and stuff, so we're going to learn, and I'll give you steps, and then we're just going to practice them. Okay? So, 7.5 is called exponential functions. Let's talk about what an exponential function is. So the equation looks like this. Y equals A times B to the x power. So B has a little exponent and it's x. And then plus C. Okay? Things we need to know about those letters. A can never be 0. It can be any number as long as it's not 0. Most of the time it's 1. Okay? B has a couple rules. B has to be greater than 0, which means it has to always be positive. B is always positive. That's really what that means. On top of that, B can never just be the number 1. So really it's anything from 2 and above. Okay? It can be fractions too, as long as it's greater. Okay? The graph okay? Now, when A is positive, it looks like this. It looks kind of like, it curves. It's kind of like an L from forwards or backwards. It just has curve in it. So it's not a straight line. It kind of looks like an L. Like this one looks like an L with arrows on it. You just flip it both ways. So it's pointing up. If A is negative, you're just going to flip them upside down. They're going to be pointing down. So still pointing left and right, but now they're going to be pointing down. It is a funky picture. Kind of looks like 4 corners right there. Okay. And then this is a new thing you haven't had. This graph has a thing called a horizontal, and it's a weird word, asymptote. I know it sounds like a bad word. A-S-Y-M-P-T-O-T-E. Asymptote. What that means in this case is y equals c. So whatever c is in the equation, that's our answer. And I'm going to give you the definition for that. I'm just telling you all this is everything about exponentials. Okay, so now let's learn what an asymptote is. So write asymptote again, A-S-Y-M-P-T-O-T-E. So an asymptote is a line, it's really imaginary, okay? It's a line that a graph gets close to but never, I'm capitalizing never, if I could spell that would help, touches or crosses. Okay, for our picture, we always draw, it's horizontal, so it's left to right. We always draw it as a dotted line, left to right. That's how we draw it in our picture. Next vocabulary, exponential growth. So if our image has exponential growth, we would just say growth or decay. We know it is based on B. If B is greater than 1, we would write the answer growth. So whatever b is, if b is greater than 1, it is growth. Because it's always positive, so it could never be less than. Okay? And then exponential decay. Since it can't be negative, if b is between 0 and 1. So it's like a fraction, but it has to be less than 1. So like 0.5, that would be decay. 1/2, that's the same thing, right? But if it said 2.5, that's not between 0 and 1 because it had a 2 in front. Okay, so we will have to answer this. Now, the steps I give you are what you will do. Your book says something different in the instructions. I just want you to follow your steps. You're basically going to find all this information that's up here, but I'm going to give you direct orders and prettiness to do it. And I'm going to change boards because I can't write that small. We know me too well. So, steps to graph. Okay. First step we're going to do is we're going to identify A, B, and C. We're just going to say what those numbers are. A is this number, B is this number, C is this number. Figure them out. Okay. Next, so step 2, we're going to determine if it has growth or decay. So we just have to look at B. Just look at B and say, is it growth or decay? Based on if it's greater than 1 or between 0 and 1. Step 3, identify the asymptote. Remember, it's y equals c, whatever that is. Y equals whatever c equals. So you would have to write the answer asymptote or abbreviate it. I just abbreviate ASY. Y equals whatever number. Okay. Step 4, make a table. In your table, you're always going to pick the same x values. So I'm going to draw it next to you. You're always going to pick -1, 0, and 1. You're always going to pick the same numbers. -1, 0, and 1. We're never going to change that. Step 5, once we know the x answers, we have to find the answers for y. For the y values by plugging in x into the equation. Or if we have an equation, we take our number, plug it in, find the answer, and we'll practice. Once we have that, step 6, I almost wrote 7, that's silly. Step 6, graph the asymptote and the points. And that's it. 6 steps. We're going to use these steps every time. I'll even put them on the board for you later. Okay, every single time we use the same steps. So these are the steps I want you to do for your homework. Your homework says find the y-intercept, find the domain, the range. Don't do any of that. Do what I'm saying here. Okay. Oh, the cool thing is I forgot something. In your table, that's why there's space. That point right there in the middle is always your y-intercept. So 0, comma, whatever that number is going to be, the middle point is always your y-intercept. Never changes. The numbers will change in it, but that's always your y-intercept in the middle. Okay, so now we're going to practice it. Okay, so first example, y equals 3 to the x. Y equals 3 to the x. So the first thing it says is we're going to identify A, B, and C. So right here I'm going to write A equals, leave some space, B equals, and C equals. So A is the number that is in front of B. So remember, A goes A in front of something to the x power. Is there a number right here in front of it? So what number is it if it's not there? A can never be. So what number does it have to be? Has to be 1. B has to be positive, and B is the thing that has the x. What's B? 3. And C is the thing we add. It's usually on the end or subtract on the end. Is there any number added or subtracted on the end? No, so we're adding or subtracting nothing. What number represents nothing? No. 0. That one's allowed to be 0. C can be whatever it wants. C is a strong independent variable. It doesn't need no man. Huh? Oh, we'll get there. When it's a different number other than 0. C can be any number it wants. Oh, if it's not a woman, is that what you said? Well, I said C is a woman. It really doesn't matter. C still doesn't need no man telling him what to do. Step 2, determine if it is growth or decay. Remember, it's based on B. So our B value is 3. Growth or decay. If B is greater than 1, if B is between 0 and 1. B is 3. So am I going to write the word growth down or decay? Growth. So literally we just write the word growth down. That's easy. It's literally that easy. Next, identify the asymptote. So I'm going to write ASY to abbreviate it and put 2 dots. I'm going to write Y equals. Now it says Y equals C. But what does C equal? So what am I going to write here? Y equals 0. I'm going to need that because I'm going to have to graph it later. Just finished step 3. Look, we're already halfway done. Number 4, let's make a table. Exactly like that. Okay. Make a table on the side. X, Y. Always pick the same numbers. -1, 0, and 1. What do we do? Okay, step 4 is done. Step 5, find the answers for the y values here. These are all separate x's, separate y values. by taking our x value and plugging it into the equation. So how do we plug that in? What do we do in our calculator? Hey, Jacoby, will you grab me one of those spare little calculators? Oh, wait, we can do it together. Right? So, all we do is follow the equation. You leave y because we don't know y, so it says 3 to the x. So I literally just type in 3, and I put the caret top button to the x is -1, so I put -1. Did we all get the same answer? Did you get 0.33333? If you want, you can write the decimal, 0.3. Repeating, you can write it as a fraction if you'd like. It does not matter to me. Because with tables, it's just helping you graph. Now we're going to do the same thing, so I can clear it if I want. Now it's 3 to the, but now I'm going to put 0. Nope, anything to the 0 power is 1. Now I'm going to type again, 3 to the x. Now 3 to the 1. 3 to the first. Did you get the same answer as me? Yeah. Look, step 5, done. All we have to do is graph. It says graph the asymptote, then the points. You should do it in that order. So we need to make a graph. If you want graph paper, you can use it. I just always do a little grid because your numbers, honestly, I've never seen one bigger than like 4. So I just put the biggest number that's here. It's usually my y values. I just put that many all the way around. So 3 all single ways. And the bigger you make your graph, the better it is. I'm not talking like take up space. I'm talking about like space between the lines because that guy's 0.3. So we want to be able to like do well at guessing him, right? Because 0.3, we're not going to be perfect. Now, graph the asymptote first. So on a board with you guys, if I were you, I would use like dark. I would just be dark with your pen. Where is my asymptote at? It is at y equals 0, right? Where does y equal 0? Right in the middle. What kind of line does it make again? What kind, left or right or up and down? It's in our notes. It's horizontal, right? It's left and right. So I need to make a dashed line. I picked black so you can see it. I'm going to make a dashed line left and right to show that my picture cannot cross that line. And I made it past. You can make it darker with your pencil, but you have to make it dashed. You cannot make it a solid line. Solid means it's a good line. Dash means it's like it's not there, it's imaginary. After we do that, now we can, I picked up my pencil, like I'm using my pencil. Now we can pick up our, you're using a pencil, I'm using a marker. We can plot our points. I always start with the whole numbers. X is 1, Y is comma 3. So X is 1, Y is 3. Plot a point. So I start up here. Okay, that one's done. Next one. X is 0, Y is 1. So X is 0, Y is 1. Right now it kind of looks like a straight line, where it's not going to be. X is -1, Y is 0.3. 0.3 is small. It's close to 0, but not on it. You see how close that is? It's not greater than 1 because it says 0.3, close to 3. So what I do is if this is 5 or below, 5 or above, you make it closer to the top number. If it's less than 5, you make it closer to the lower number. Then what I do to draw it, because remember your picture should look like one of these. Can you kind of see what a picture should look like? It's making like an L. It's going this way. I always start in the middle. I start at the middle point and go, okay, curve this way, but you cannot touch the black line. And then you go up and curve that way, and you have to keep going. You can't veer off crazy. So it kind of makes like a weird, hard L. Real curve. And literally that's it. We answered all our questions. Oh, the only thing it didn't is, if I asked you what the y-intercept is, because I pointed it out up here. Could you tell me what the y-intercept is? If I asked you what the y-intercept is, what would be the ordered pair for my y-intercept? It depends on how it asks you. If it says, what's the y-intercept as an ordered pair, you'd have to say 0, 1. If I said just what's the y-intercept, Jacoby would have been right because he would just say y is 1. That's it. This is the most questions you'll get. So you will do this. You'll do these instructions instead of whatever instructions they gave you. Okay? We're going to do another one. Was that so bad? No? I'll do one at the bottom of this page that I couldn't fit. Let's do a second example. How about one with some extra numbers in it? How about y equals, parentheses, 1/2 in my parentheses, to the x power, and then minus 1. Different kind of problem. I'm going to write black because there's too much brown going on this board. Yeah. Well, it looks like black, but the closer you get, it's brown. Hold on. Nope, it's brown. Just wait until I write with black. You'll tell the difference. Okay. First thing, A equals, B equals, C equals. You don't see how that's darker than that? Gracie, can you tell the difference? Can you tell that's darker than that? Well, boys are silly. Katie, can you tell the difference? Crystal? Okay, boys these days are struggling. Actually, it's always been boys.
Girls can just see more shades of color.
I think you're crazy. What is A? It's in front of it's not attached to the X. It's the number in front of that. 1. What is B? 1/2. What's C this time? -1. You have to take that sign with you. Next thing my steps tell me is determine if it has growth or decay. Look at your B value. Is it greater than 1 or is it between 0 and 1? So what is it? Decay. Okay. What's after we find the decay? Asymptote. You want to try saying it? Asymptote. It's with an M. It's like, it sounds like you're saying a bad word. Asymptote. What's my asymptote here? Gracie, what's my asymptote? Y equals -1. After we write that, what do we do next, Jacoby? Make our table. What x values do I always use? -1, 0, and 1. Okay. What do I do with those x values, Jacoby? Well, I just take these and put them right there. How do I find my answers for y? Yeah, we take one number at a time. So -1, we're going to plug it in here. So you see how this has parentheses? We have to plug in parentheses. So I'm going to type it in. I push parentheses, 1, ABC2, close the parentheses, so I turn it into a fraction. And then to the -1, then -1. What's the answer we all got? I got 1. I'm going to do the same thing. We're just going to type in, okay, clear. Type in that. So 1, ABC2, to the 0, -1. What did you get? For the next one, 0, 0. I got 0. To the last one. What'd you get? I got -1/2 or -0.5. Mine actually put it in fraction for me because it's in fraction form. If you want to write it as -0.5, that's fine, but I wrote it as fraction form. Don't forget to type the whole thing in. My last class, someone forgot to type in the -1 every time. They got all different answers from me because I didn't type in the whole equation. After we do that, do we get the right answers? Matthew, you having a hard time? Did you -1 at the end? Hold on, there you go. Did you -1 at the end? That's why, because it was 1/2, but when you -1, you get -1/2. You forgot to -1. Jacoby, did you -1 in your calculator? Look at my calculator screen. Ah, see? You're not the only ones. I had kids in last class do the same thing because we type it in here, but we forget about the rest of it, right? Don't forget about the rest of it. Once we're there again, we draw our grid. The biggest number, not based on negative positive, just the biggest number, including my y asymptote, is 1. I only need one tally each way. My biggest number is 1. That one's brown. I just drew that in brown, by the way. First thing we draw is our asymptote. Where's my asymptote at? Y equals -1. So I go down 1, and then I'm going to put a dashed line left to right because it's horizontal. Then we plot our points. I always start with my whole numbers. -1, comma 1. -1, comma 1. 0, 0. 1, comma -1/2. Start at the middle, curve it towards the line. Start at the middle, curve it away from the line. Sometimes the hardest part is literally just drawing the graph. How are we doing, kiddos? Is it making sense? Is it not making sense? It's not making sense at all? Even with the steps? Jacoby, you don't understand it at all? What do you mean? Like how to make the curve? That's just what the image looks like. That type of equation, it's called an exponential equation. It has to be curved. It's not a straight line. It's non-linear. It's just, that's how the graph is supposed to look. It is not allowed to be straight at all, ever. That is the one rule of this graph, is it's never allowed to be straight. What do you mean? Growth or decay? Oh, don't ignore the A is positive and A is negative. That was just so you to understand that it can face up and down. Ignore that. All you need to know is if you look at 3 points, connect them. Connect them to their closest point. So I start in the middle and go, okay, go to the right. This is the one that goes to the right. And I just keep going down closer to my line. This, or oh, it's on this side. This doesn't really mean anything. It just means it can face up or down. It means nothing. You don't need that to graph your picture. Then you start at the other line. Did I touch all my points? No, so I have to go the other way. It's like when you make a straight line, the only difference is it's not allowed to be straight. It's literally the one rule. It is never allowed to be straight. So this does not matter. The important part is, can you connect your points without making it straight? That's all that matters. And then my computer's fell asleep. Sergio? What are you confused about? This is the x-axis. This is the y-axis. So you count -1. This is 0 is always in the middle. So -1, negatives are to the left. We did all this in the first chapter and the second chapter. It's like a number line. No. There's no guessing involved. No, if there's no guessing involved, you have to know that. I need another board. Oh, okay. So the x-axis goes this way. 0 is always in the middle. Then after from 0, you just count 1, 2, and you just keep counting. Then you go the other way. -1, -2. You just keep counting. Left and right is the x's. Up and down is the same thing. 0's in the middle. This is the y's though. When you go up, you count 1, 2. When you go down, you're subtracting. -1, -2. So that's why these two pictures are like mushed together to make a graph. So this is 0 in the middle. So if I count 1, 2, 3, I just don't label them. And then -1, -2, -3. And go up 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, -3. So every single time you plot a point, like 1, 2, it goes x, then y. So x is 1. So starting at 0, you go 1. Y is +2. Up 2, 1, 2. That's how you know where your point goes, because you base it off these numbers. And these numbers are from this table. That's why they're next to each other. Okay, this is my favorite. Let's try another one. How about y equals -2 to the x? That's a 2. I changed my mind. -2 to the x. So this one is one that confuses people because the rule says b is never allowed to be negative. So you can't write your answer as b is -2. What's that number b is? It's not -2, it's just 2. So we did not use that negative sign. That negative sign is in front of it. What also is in front of b? What letters technically here? We just can't see it. A. Yeah. B's here. A's in front of it. What number is in front of there? Technically, it's 1. So what is A going to be? It's going to be -1. Because B is never allowed to be negative. It's one of the rules. And then C is if we add or subtract at the end. Did we add or subtract? No, so what's C going to be? 0. Okay. Now, based on B, is it a growth or a decay? Growth. My asymptote, what's it going to be? Y equals 0, because it's always Y equals C, whatever C equals. Now let's make our table. It's always -1, 0, and 1. Now we're going to take our thing. You can just plug in and out was. If you want to put -1 times 2, you can. So, -1 times 2 to the -1st. What'd you get? Yep, negative, right? So negative 0.5 or -1/2, whichever one you want. Now do the same thing. -1 times 2 to the 0. Peyton, what do we get when we plug in that? I got -1 also. Now I plug in the last one. -1 times 2 to the 1st. What do we get that time? -2. Do we all get the same numbers? Plugging into our calculator. Did you put -2 to the x? As long as you put the negative in there, you're fine. You just can't forget the negative. Now we can draw it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So x and y. We always graph our asymptote first. So y equals 0. Remember, 0 is the intersection. And it's always left to right. So we're just going to draw a dotted line left to right. Now, Sergio, we just plot our points. So x, which are at the bottom, x is 1. So you go x is +1. Y is -2. Y is 2 is down here. So from there, you go x is 1 down 2. Plot a point. See how this point is on the bottom of this line? Since it's on this side of that dashed line, all your points have to be on the same side of the line. So then 0. I didn't move anywhere left or right, but I'm going to go down 1. -1, 0.5. So when you connect these, look, it looks like it should make a straight line, right? But the one rule is, the one really important rule about this equation is it's not allowed to be straight. So why just curve it? We go, okay, let's just start in the middle, curve one way without crossing that line. Curve the other way. You're just making like a half circle both sides. Is it getting easier to draw, Jacoby? Okay. Yeah, don't pay attention to A is positive, A is negative. That's just to help you understand that. See how this is facing down? Had any of the other ones we've done face down yet? No, but it's okay. But it's still a growth. It's okay. It's because it's based on B. So it's allowed. It's just because A was negative. That's why it looks like that. It's still a growth because it's based on B, not A. Huh? No. It can only flip over its asymptote. It can never face the other way. How do we feel about the topic? Not so bad. We got our steps. We want to try some practice problems. We got plenty of time. Okay. Where is my...